For over 2 decades, NCIS has captivated audiences with gripping storylines, memorable characters, and an unforgettable cast. But while the series continues to thrive, several beloved actors who once lit up the screen are no longer with us. Behind the scenes, their lives were marked by personal struggles, untimely deaths, and heartbreaking farewells that fans may not know about. In this video, we take a closer look at the NCIS actors who have tragically passed away, honoring their achievements, revisiting their most iconic moments on the show, and sharing the real-life stories that made them unforgettable. Join us in celebrating their legacies and remembering the faces that helped shape one of television's most enduring series. David McCallum was born on September 19, 1933, and began portraying Dr. Donald "Ducky" Mallard on NCIS in 2003 at the age of 70. In the series, Ducky was more than just a medical examiner. He was the eccentric conscience of the team, known for his morbidly charming anecdotes and scholarly demeanor. Audiences adored him for his quirky intelligence, his unexpected emotional depth, and his uncanny ability to soothe the team's darkest moments with a wry smile. Behind the scenes, however, McCallum's polished exterior concealed a lifetime of haunting shadows. Born to renowned classical musicians, his early years were steeped in pressure and parental neglect. A gifted child constantly pushed toward perfection, he internalized trauma that later manifested in bouts of depression and emotional detachment. While his early fame on The Man from UNCLE brought in global acclaim, it also led to deep professional frustration. He was repeatedly typecast and discarded by studios who saw him as passé. The most devastating blow came in the late 1970s when his first marriage to actress Jill Ireland disintegrated amid rumors of infidelity and estrangement. She soon married his friend Charles Bronson, triggering a painful public betrayal. Later, McCallum endured the overdose death of his adopted son Jason, a tragedy he rarely spoke of. He hid his grief behind intellect and wit, often preferring solitude and burying himself in classical music. Though spared the chaos of Hollywood scandal, he was said to be emotionally unavailable, even to those closest to him. McCallum died on September 25, 2023, in New York City of natural causes at the age of 90. At the time of his death, he left behind an estate valued at $10 million, including rare violins, royalties from decades of syndication, and a well-managed investment portfolio. His influence endured, but few ever knew the personal sorrow behind the elegance he so effortlessly portrayed. Gregory Peck was born on April 20, 1948, and portrayed Director Charlie in NCIS in 2003 at the age of 55. His character, though fleeting, left a chilling impression with calculated authority, acting as a foil to the series' chaotic rhythm. Cold and composed, Director Charlie offered a rare glimpse into the bureaucratic upper crust of NCIS, and Peck's performance, steely watchful, won fans over in a flash. Yet behind that polished facade on screen, Gregory's own life was haunted by quiet turmoil. Born into a military family in Washington, D.C., he spent much of his youth uprooted and friendless, retreating into books and fantasy to escape a father who enforced discipline with silence and shame. Though he flourished on stage and earned a reputation as a master of Shakespeare, Peck's television career sputtered early. He was fired abruptly from 2 pilot projects in the 90s and quietly blacklisted after a studio feud involving accusations of emotional manipulation toward younger castmates. He was rumored to be difficult during his time on 24, reportedly causing tension with co-stars due to obsessive line readings and a biting temper off camera. His most notorious career misstep came when he turned down a recurring role on The West Wing, believing 24 would bring greater acclaim, a decision he later regretted as The West Wing swept awards season. Personally, his marriage nearly collapsed in the early 2000s during a drawn-out scandal involving unpaid back taxes and a strained relationship with his daughter, who distanced herself from the spotlight and from him. Gregory died on July 8, 2022, due to complications from emergency surgery in London. He was 74. Despite being seen as a pillar of professionalism, his estate revealed mounting medical debts and a net worth of just over $3.8 million, far less than public estimates. He was cremated quietly, his ashes scattered by a son he rarely spoke of publicly. His legacy remains deeply respected, but few know the cost of the quiet image he so carefully maintained. Ralph Waite, born June 22, 1928, took on the role of Jackson Gibbs in NCIS in 2008 at the age of 80. As the stoic father of Leroy Jethro Gibbs, Jackson embodied old-school values, quiet strength, and a heartfelt tension with his son that mirrored many viewers' own family struggles. In real life, Waite's soul was carved by deep spiritual disillusionment and personal loss. Raised in a working-class household, he was a troubled boy turned theology student who sought God and lost faith when his daughter died of leukemia at age 9. He left his post as a Presbyterian minister and turned to acting. Ironically, a profession that gave him a kind of emotional catharsis religion had failed to deliver. Despite fame on the Waltons, Waite's personal life was marred by alcoholism, multiple divorces, and a reputation for being brutally confrontational on set. Cast and crew from various productions whispered about his volatility, with one co-star allegedly accusing him of sabotaging scenes out of jealousy. His darkest career moment came during the 1980s when, fueled by ego and drink, he was blacklisted after berating a director publicly, an act that almost ended his career. He later entered rehab and tried to clean up both his image and his relationships. Waite's romantic history was rocky. His 3 marriages were short-lived, with reports of infidelity and controlling behavior. One of his ex-wives described him as a brilliant man who could only live in isolation. When he died on February 13, 2014, in Palm Desert, California, of age-related natural causes at age 85, he left an estate worth approximately $2 million. Though modest, his assets included real estate and royalties from decades of television. While his characters were paternal pillars, Waite himself was a man haunted by loss, self-destruction, and a lifelong battle to find peace. Fran Bennett, born on August 14, 1937, portrayed Mary Elaine Smith on NCIS in 2017 at the age of 80. On screen, she exuded dignity and strength, embodying characters who often held quiet power. Her portrayal, though brief, left a lasting impression as a voice of reason and calm. But Bennett's real life was shadowed by profound pain few ever saw. Raised in deeply segregated Arkansas, Fran endured systemic racism and personal trauma early on. Her father died under suspicious circumstances involving the local police, an event she never publicly discussed. Behind her poised presence was a storm of emotional repression and private grief. Despite earning accolades in theater, Bennett was consistently passed over for major Hollywood roles due to both racism and her refusal to tone down her commanding style. She was blackballed from certain networks after speaking out about discriminatory casting in the 1980s. A perfectionist, she was known to harshly criticize co-stars she deemed unprepared, leading to a reputation for being impossible on set. She never married, though she had several short-lived affairs with both men and women, something she hinted at but never fully addressed. One lover, a prominent stage director, publicly accused her of psychological abuse in a memoir, alleging she could be manipulative and emotionally cold. In later life, Bennett struggled with arthritis and increasing isolation. Her death on September 12, 2021, in Los Angeles at 84, was ruled natural, but close friends reported she had slipped into deep depression months before. Her estate, consisting of modest teaching savings, a rent-controlled apartment, and a few pieces of memorabilia, was valued under $500,000. While her financial legacy was humble, Fran Bennett left behind an uncompromising voice in a world that often tried to silence it. Jessica Walter was born on January 31, 1941, and portrayed Judith McKnight in NCIS in 2015 at the age of 74. Judith was portrayed as elegant, sharp, and commanding, a woman with a sharp tongue and even sharper instincts, characteristics Jessica had long mastered. Born in Brooklyn into a family marked by financial hardship and emotional coldness, Jessica developed a shell early. Her father died when she was young, and her mother reportedly pushed her relentlessly into performance, dismissing emotions as a waste of time. Jessica spent years burying her vulnerability beneath technique, eventually becoming a respected but emotionally isolated star. Despite her Emmy win in 1975, her career hit deep lows. In the late 80s, she was almost blacklisted for publicly criticizing a director, costing her multiple roles. She was also quietly dropped from several projects due to being labeled difficult. A lesser-known scandal occurred in the early 2000s when an off-the-record comment allegedly revealed she tried to have a co-star fired during a pilot shoot for a sitcom that never aired. Her most public fallout came in 2018, when she disclosed verbal harassment from Arrested Development co-star Jeffrey Tambor. Though she forgave him publicly, behind the scenes she was reportedly furious at how male colleagues defended Tambor over her. Jessica's personal life was marred by turbulence. She was married to actor Ron Leibman, And while the pair were seen as a power couple, insiders revealed they fought constantly behind closed doors. She had one daughter, but the relationship was distant for years. Jessica rarely discussed her family, and some suspected deep-seated pain from unresolved conflict. In her final decade, Walter lived through grief and illness. Liebman died in 2019, and she was diagnosed with heart complications soon after. She battled quietly, telling friends only what she had to. On March 24, 2021, she died in her sleep at her Manhattan apartment, alone. She was 80. Her estate included a Central Park co-op, vintage jewelry, and modest investment portfolios. Her net worth at the time of her death was approximately $4 million. Jack Axelrod, born January 25, 1930, appeared on NCIS in 2012 as Schmile Pink has at age 82, a soft-spoken Holocaust survivor whose brief reunion with Ziva David was tender and haunting. The role was emblematic of Axelrod's signature on-screen presence, humble, nuanced, and full of unspoken history. But behind the gentle characters he portrayed lay a man who had reinvented himself more than once, and whose past was marked by suppressed ambitions and professional disappointments. Raised in a fractured Jewish family during the Great Depression, Axelrod grew up amidst economic hardship and subtle emotional neglect. Before acting, he pursued architecture, more out of obligation than passion, only to abandon it in his 40s to chase the dream he'd buried in youth. Despite his classical training under Uta Hagen, his career was plagued by inconsistency. Industry insiders recall Axelrod's resentment toward being typecast as the old man long before he actually aged into it. Though he was known for being soft-spoken publicly, colleagues sometimes found him rigid, critical, and unwilling to accept direction. The greatest blow to his career came in the late 90s when he was blacklisted, unofficially, after a heated public outburst during a stage rehearsal that allegedly led to threats of litigation. His private life was cloaked in solitude. Never married and reportedly estranged from some family members, Axelrod threw himself into teaching theater, but even there, students remember him as brilliant yet abrasive. He died of natural causes on November 28, 2023, at the age of 93 in Los Angeles. His estate included a modest home and modest savings, totaling an estimated $800,000. Though not a household name, Axelrod's posthumous recognition brought to light the emotional toll of artistic sacrifice and the cost of being quietly exceptional in an industry obsessed with loud fame. Eric Anderson, born October 24, 1956, took on the role of Agent Jack Canton in NCIS in 2003 at the age of 47. Canton was a stone-faced federal agent who appeared to know more than he let on. Anderson brought a quiet intensity to the role, the kind that made viewers lean in closer. Eric, born in Japan to American parents, grew up constantly on the move, raised in a household burdened by silence and secrecy. His father, a military man rumored to have had a second family, was rarely home and emotionally distant. Eric's adolescence was steeped in loneliness, marked by a fierce yearning for identity and stability. He once confessed in a rare interview that he considered suicide at 16, unable to find any place he belonged. Though he found success in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and 30-something, Anderson never broke into stardom. For years, he hovered in the limbo of that guy roles. His biggest heartbreak came in 1994 when he was cast as a lead in a major network pilot, only to be replaced days before filming after producers reportedly found him emotionally unresponsive. That moment broke something in him, triggering a years-long dependence on painkillers, which he kept hidden from everyone, including his wife, actress Saxton Traynor. His marriage, while surviving on paper, was deeply strained. Friends described them as two actors living in different emotional universes. The couple had no children, though Eric longed for a family. His writing career, while a form of salvation, was filled with rejection. His third novel, a thinly veiled exposé on a toxic Hollywood set, was shelved by his own agent out of fear of defamation lawsuits. He battled esophageal cancer alone, telling only a handful of friends. He died on June 1, 2024, in Los Angeles at the age of 67, his body cremated in a small private service. His estate included a modest home in Laurel Canyon, a leased hybrid car, and royalties from syndications and book sales. His net worth at death was under $1 million. Francesco Quinn, born March 22, 1963, stepped into the role of Corporal Luis Romero in NCIS in 2004, aged 41. Romero was a character tormented by inner guilt and wounded loyalty, a reflection, many say, of Francesco's own life beneath his striking good looks and Hollywood charm. The son of legendary actor Anthony Quinn and Italian costume designer Iolanda Adalori, Francesco grew up in opulence shadowed by emotional neglect. Raised between Rome and Los Angeles, he lived in the margins of his father's fame, often struggling to define his own worth. His childhood was reportedly marred by bullying and identity crises, feeling neither fully Italian nor American. In his adult career, he was both celebrated and scorned. Though he landed roles in Platoon and Young and the Restless, he was often accused of riding on his father's coattails. On set, Francesco developed a reputation for erratic behavior, fueled in part by long-standing rumors of drug use and mood swings. He was sued twice in the early 2000s for breach of contract and was nearly dropped from a film in Canada after a violent outburst involving a producer. The greatest failure of his career came when he lost a major international lead role due to rumors of instability. His personal life was no less chaotic. His marriage to Julie McCann was tempestuous and ended in an explosive divorce, with allegations of infidelity and emotional abuse. One of his children later admitted they had been estranged for years. In his final years, Francesco sought solace in meditation and athletics, though privately battled heart problems he concealed even from family. He collapsed and died of a heart attack on August 5, 2011, while running with his son in Malibu. He was just 48. His estate, muddled by debt and legal confusion, amounted to roughly $800,000, with little remaining for his children. Though remembered for his passion and intensity, his life off-screen was filled with contradictions, heartbreak, and a relentless search for peace that never fully came. Nina Foch, born on April 20, 1924, took on the role of Mrs. Victoria Mallard in NCIS in 2005 at the age of 81. Known for her commanding elegance, she brought a peculiar aristocratic flair to the series as Ducky's eccentric and emotionally unpredictable mother. Her character added depth and mystery to the backstory of the beloved Dr. Mallard, and fans adored her unconventional presence. Yet beneath Foch's regal persona lay a lifetime of concealed anguish. She was raised by a single mother after her Dutch classical conductor father abandoned them, and her childhood in America was marked by emotional coldness and social isolation. Bullied for her accent and aloof demeanor, she learned to hide pain behind control. Despite becoming a silver screen staple in the 1940s and 50s, Foch's Hollywood career was marred by internal politics. She was fired from multiple sets for being difficult and once clashed with director Otto Preminger, so violently it led to her blacklisting from several studios. She also battled serious stage fright and quietly struggled with prescription pill dependency during the 1960s, a secret she never publicly admitted. Foch never married successfully. Her 3 marriages collapsed amid allegations of infidelity and emotional abuse. One husband even accused her of emotional manipulation and leaked divorce filings. She had one son who later distanced himself from her, reportedly due to her controlling nature. Her later years were filled with health complications and loneliness, especially after losing several lifelong friends. Nina Foch died on December 5, 2008, in Los Angeles, from complications related to myelodysplastic syndrome at the age of 84. At the time of her death, she lived modestly in a small West Hollywood apartment. Her estate, composed of rare books, art pieces, and teaching royalties, was valued at approximately $600,000. Though not a fortune, her lasting influence as a mentor and actress remains her true legacy. Elizabeth Pena was born on September 23, 1959, and appeared in NCIS in 2004 as FBI agent Lena Reyes at age 45, a role that, despite its brevity, captured the fiery spirit she brought to every performance. On screen, Reyes was unrelenting, assertive, and unwilling to be underestimated, just like Pena herself, who made a career playing Latino women with bite and vulnerability. But behind the accolades and awards, Pena's life was marked by private torment. Raised in a Cuban immigrant household where the arts were celebrated but addiction whispered in the walls, she began drinking heavily in her 20s, an open secret in Latino Hollywood circles, though rarely acknowledged in public. As her career surged with hits like La Bamba and Jacob's Ladder, so too did her battles with self-doubt and substance abuse. She was known for her intensity, which could border on volatility. Directors quietly warned others about her erratic moods, and one co-star later recounted that she once stormed off a set mid-take, screaming about the script being a betrayal of women. Pena's most devastating professional fallout came in 2000, when she was blacklisted by several casting agents after a drunken outburst at a guild function. Though she later earned redemption with Incredibles, voicing the enigmatic Mirage, she never fully regained the industry's trust. Her personal life was equally fraught. Her marriage to director Hans Ralla was marred by rumors of mutual infidelity and violent arguments. Despite giving birth to 2 children, she often described motherhood as beautiful chaos, once admitting that she feared she was failing them due to her drinking. Pena died on October 14, 2014, in Los Angeles from cirrhosis of the liver that led to gastrointestinal bleeding and cardiac arrest, a grim end to years of secret binge drinking. She was 55. Her estate, worth approximately $3 million, included residuals from decades of work and rights to voice acting roles. Pena's legacy is both luminous and tragic. She broke barriers, but never fully escaped the demons that chased her from stage to grave. Bruce Gray, born September 7, 1936, played the calculating assistant director Jonathan Overmeyer in NCIS in 2004, stepping into the role at 68. His character was cold, deliberate, and steeped in bureaucratic power, traits Gray portrayed with unnerving realism. On screen, he exuded restraint, but behind the camera, Bruce's life told a far messier story. Raised in post-war Puerto Rico by a controlling, emotionally distant father and a mother who reportedly vanished from his life during adolescence, Gray turned to intellectualism as armor. He earned a master's in psychology, but insiders whispered he used that knowledge manipulatively, often psychologically profiling co-stars and allegedly sabotaging less experienced actors. In Canadian theater circles, rumors swirled about a decades-long feud with a prominent director he accused of blackballing him in the 1970s, leading to a self-imposed exile from stage work for over a decade. Gray's career rebounded on TV, yet his time on sets was not without tension. He clashed publicly with producers on Medium, allegedly over script changes and his belief that the show lacked scientific integrity. Bruce never married, though there were persistent rumors of a secret long-term relationship with a male choreographer in Toronto that ended abruptly following a lawsuit in the late 1990s over unpaid debts and property. Friends claimed Bruce became increasingly isolated in his final years, living alone in a sparsely furnished Los Angeles apartment and battling a quiet but aggressive cancer he refused to treat until it was too late. He passed away on December 13, 2017, at age 81. His net worth was a modest $850,000. Most of which was reportedly left to an academic scholarship fund rather than family. Though beloved by fans for his calm screen presence, Bruce Gray's real life was marked by emotional walls, broken trust, and a brilliant mind never fully at peace with the world he tried so hard to control. Charles Durning, born on February 28, 1923, took on the role of Ernie Yost in NCIS in 2004 at the age of 81. Yost, a tormented World War II hero hiding a dark battlefield secret, mirrored Durning's own war-scarred past, and his raw performance in that single episode remains one of the show's most emotionally charged moments. Revered for his honest portrayals and gravelly voice, Durning was long perceived as the everyman of cinema, but behind that noble image was a man haunted by his own ghosts. He survived the Normandy landings and the harrowing Battle of the Bulge, but rarely spoke of the atrocities he witnessed, except in cryptic interviews later in life that hinted at survivors' guilt and recurring nightmares. Born into poverty as one of 10 siblings, 3 of whom died in childhood, Charles suffered severe beatings from his alcoholic father, and as a boy he scavenged garbage bins to help feed his family. His path to acting was accidental. He worked as a dance instructor and a janitor before being noticed at a small theater. But for years he was typecast as the gruff fat guy and humiliated by directors who didn't respect his talent. Despite his enormous success in films like Dog Day Afternoon, he privately battled depression and a volatile temper, which allegedly led to explosive fallouts with cast members on several projects in the 80s. One such infamous incident on the set of The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas involved him smashing a trailer door and threatening to walk off the film. Durning's romantic life was equally unstable. His marriage to Carol Dowdy ended in a bitter separation, and his relationship with his children was distant. In the 1990s, one of his daughters accused him of being emotionally unavailable and obsessed with work. As the years wore on, Durning's body failed him. He suffered multiple strokes and needed a walker by his final years. He died on December 24, 2012, at the age of 89 in his Manhattan home, reportedly alone with only a nurse present. His estate, though worth around $10 million, was mired in disputes among his surviving children, with allegations that his longtime manager mishandled funds and memorabilia. Tom Bauer, born on January 3, 1938, took on the role of Sheriff Miller Thompson in NCIS in 2004 at the age of 66. His portrayal of the gruff, principled lawman embodied the quiet authority he mastered throughout a career spanning over 5 decades. While the character of Thompson was a supporting presence, Bauer's screen time left a striking impression: stoic, unpredictable, and driven by a personal code that reflected real American grit. But off-screen, Bauer's life bore the weight of deeper, often hidden pain. Raised in post-Depression Colorado by emotionally distant parents, he grew up in a household silenced by alcoholism and mental illness. He later revealed that his mother attempted suicide multiple times during his childhood, creating a fractured, anxious upbringing that he learned to suppress. Though he carved a niche in Hollywood, Bauer was perpetually cast as the grizzled outsider, partly due to his weathered look, but also because of his difficult reputation. He was known for storming off sets over creative disagreements, and one director privately described him as brilliant but unbearable. His biggest career failure came in the late 1980s when he was cast in a leading role for a primetime series, only to be replaced after a week of filming due to clashes with producers. That firing haunted him, and he battled years of alcoholism afterward, quietly entering rehab twice. Bauer never married and had no children, despite several long-term relationships that ended bitterly. One former partner accused him of emotional neglect and described a man obsessed with disappearing into roles but incapable of real intimacy. In later life, Bauer isolated himself, retreating into a small home in Los Angeles, spending his days reading scripts he would never perform. On May 30, 2024, he died in his sleep at age 86. The official cause of death was natural causes, though friends claimed he had suffered from undiagnosed heart issues. His modest estate included a 1960s motorcycle, decades-old film memorabilia, and residuals from past roles, altogether worth an estimated $800,000. Jerry Becker was born on April 11, 1951, and joined NCIS in 2003 at age 52, portraying William Bear, a character who appeared only briefly but lingered in viewers' memory thanks to Becker's restrained, cerebral performance. In NCIS, Bear was a quiet operator, sharp, composed, and wrapped in layers of ambiguity, reflecting Becker's real-life typecasting as men of intellect and quiet torment. But Becker's path to such roles was riddled with internal chaos. Raised in St. Louis under a rigid Catholic household, he endured a childhood scarred by emotional neglect and the weight of parental alcoholism. As a teen, he battled undiagnosed depression and later confessed in an obscure 1997 interview that he attempted suicide at age 17. While Becker built a respected career in theater and film, Donnie Brasco, the game's Spider-Man, he was a perennial outsider in Hollywood, often overlooked for bigger roles because of his refusal to play the game. His biggest professional heartbreak came in the early 2000s when he was dropped last minute from a major recurring role in The West Wing, allegedly due to lack of commercial appeal, which he never publicly forgave. Becker struggled with severe alcoholism in his 30s, leading to multiple hospitalizations and a near-fatal incident in 1986 that left him briefly comatose. Though sober by the 1990s, the damage lingered. Many colleagues described him as withdrawn, even paranoid, often convinced producers were conspiring against him. His marriage to Lucy, a fellow theater actor, was passionate but strained by his health issues and long bouts of creative frustration. He remained childless by choice, claiming he feared passing on the sadness. Becker died on April 13, 2019, in Nyack, New York, from complications related to diabetes, just 2 days after turning 68. His estate was modest, valued at under $1 million, and included a rent-controlled Manhattan apartment and a stack of unsold screenplays. To many, he remains the ghost of a greater career that might have been, a man of brilliance dimmed too soon by invisible pain. Michael Gilden, born on September 22, 1962, took on the role of Marty Pearson in NCIS in 2006 at age 44. Marty was a minor but unforgettable figure, eccentric, endearing, and layered in his few scenes. Gilden brought unexpected emotional weight to the part, which resonated with viewers far beyond what a brief guest appearance might suggest. But while his on-screen charisma left a mark, Gilden's personal life remained shrouded in pain few knew. Born with dwarfism into a family that reportedly struggled with both financial insecurity and emotional distance, Gilden learned early to mask his vulnerabilities with wit and ambition. Teased relentlessly in school, he buried his emotions deep, masking them with a seemingly unshakable confidence. Despite his credits in Pulp Fiction, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, and stunt work, he was often sidelined in casting due to his stature, a frustration he rarely voiced publicly. Though he had no widely reported scandals, there were whispers in the industry about Gilden being increasingly difficult to work with due to mood swings and control issues during shoots. His most crushing career moment came when he was removed from a major fantasy series during pre-production, allegedly after clashing with producers. His personal life, though anchored by a supportive marriage to actress Meredith Eaton, was not without turmoil. Friends have hinted at increasing isolation and depressive episodes in his final years. He took his own life on December 5, 2006, in Los Angeles, at the age of 44, shocking both colleagues and fans. He left behind a modest estate, primarily savings from acting and financial consulting, valued at under $1 million. His death exposed the silent mental health crisis among disabled performers and prompted a posthumous reevaluation of how Hollywood treats difference and invisibility. Thank you for watching as we reflected on the lives and legacies of the actors from NCIS who are no longer with us. Their humor, charm, and unforgettable performances brought joy to millions and helped shape the show into a classic. While their journeys ended far too soon, their impact lives on through every scene, every laugh, and every memory they've left behind. As we honor their lives, we're reminded of how deeply television can touch our hearts. Join us next time as we look back at more stars who left us too soon, but whose stories continue to shine.